Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day. Welcome back to Gearheaddaily. I'm your host, Eric, as usual. Beard, mustache on point, which means I'm ready for the day. And I'm going to have a pretty kick butt day today, so I hope you are too. And I just want to start by saying, usually I don't really, ask you to like, share, subscribe, that sort of thing. But if you're new to the channel, and some folks have asked me, well, how do I help you out? And I'm not in it for the money, and it's nice, but frankly, it doesn't really make me a whole lot. But it would be nice to kind of grow the channel a little bit and share in some cool stuff. So if you have the opportunity, please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button if you can, and share if you would. That would be really cool. So today I want to tell you a story of how I was an idiot, and this is the story about how I maced myself. It is possible, and I'm going to share it with you. And I will say that I am one of those people that I'm curious. I want to know how things work. I'm interested in learning all the things that I can. But I'm also the kind of person that, look, if I'm the butt of a joke, just let me in on the joke. That's totally fine. And I'm kind of one of those people that if something stupid happens to me, I find the nearest person and go, okay, you'll never guess what happened. Here's what happened, and here's how I'm an idiot. Okay. Because I find it funny, and I figured other people will too. So learn from my mistake, everybody. Learn from my mistake, children. So I worked for a Chevy dealership near me at the time. I was working through graduate school, and I needed a part-time job just to pay a couple bills and that sort of thing. I wasn't living extravagantly at the time, but I had my first '68 Camaro then. So car parts, food, that sort of thing. That was kind of my life at the time, and it was a pretty easy job. They didn't really expect a whole lot out of us. I was working my way through my master's program, and I needed a flexible job that would allow me to, come and go, make some of my own hours, but also at the same time, nothing too high pressure or that would, kind of stress me out because I needed time to do other things. And so I was a detailer, and it was pretty cool. I got to hang out with some of the shop guys, hang out with some of the guys in the sales department, that sort of thing, get to know them. And I've got some crazy stories about working there. And maybe some of you have heard on some of the podcasts, I've relayed some of my dealership stories. Kirby in particular was a really cool guy. And those of you who know who Kirby was, there's a small handful who do. Super cool guy. So if you ever want to hear stories about him, I will definitely relay those. But if you've been listening to the podcast and you like them, let me know. Comment below if you think they're cool and I should keep doing them. They're not getting a lot of views at this point. I know they're kind of long form version of some of the VinWiki stories or long form version of a that sort of thing. And I enjoy doing it, and I think it's fun. But I want to make sure other people are enjoying it too. So I've got a big, long list of people here that I need to get through, and hopefully you'll see some more people pop up. But, if you like those things, please do share them because it really helps me out, and it kind of tells me what people want to see and want to view. So, I can kind of adapt. It's not a big deal. I just, make sure it's related to cars. So if you say, hey, oh, Eric, do this or Eric, do that, hey, totally cool. As long as it's car related in some form, I'm totally cool. So let me know in the comments. So I worked for the dealership, and they, wasn't a very high stress job. I was a detailer. Basically means I would take a car, I would clean it up, and then I would, either for delivery for somebody who purchased it or take in a trade-in. At the time, auctions weren't as big as they are now, so we would take in a lot of different trade-ins, and I would have to clean them up, get them presentable, and then we would kind of, ship them off. And this one particular day, a woman had traded in her early 2000s Pontiac Sunfire. It was purple. That's one of the things I remember about it. And you could tell it was owned by a girl. There's lots of hair ties and hair and girl hair and that sort of stuff in the car. And I'm not really grossed out by a whole lot. By many things, so it's not that it wasn't that big a deal. I'm in there vacuuming. I got another guy kind of helping me. He takes off after a while, and I'm kind of left to my own devices here in my own little stall, cleaning and making sure the thing runs and that sort of thing, and making sure the carpets look presentable. That thing run thing to the car wash. Nothing too crazy. And I found some crazy stuff in some cars that I've cleaned out, shotgun shells, condoms, that sort of thing. And this one was a bit odd because I checked the trunk, and usually you lift up the spare tire deal to see if there's anything in there. Sometimes there's rodents or whatever that kind of find their way in that little pocket. And there was nothing unusual there. So I kind of move my way as I'm vacuuming, and I get to the front seat, and I push the front seat forward to lift up the carpets to vacuum underneath. And there's this little tiny canister about yay big. And it's got all the warnings written on it, and it's got some like a panther or some angry looking cat on the side of it, like it's clearly mace. That's what this is. And it's missing the top of it. It's missing the cap. So it's just a little nub sticking up the top of this, little 3-inch canister. And it felt really light. I'm kind of shaking it. It doesn't sound like there's anything in there. And I'm kind of like, oh, this is interesting. And it's kind of one of those ones that they put on keychains, that you give to, girls and women to, if the bad guy comes, shoot them in the face. Then they run away. That's the whole idea. And so this one had popped out of its casing, so there was no little button up top. It was just this little nub, like when you take a spray can, take the little top off this spray paint can. And I had a friend who was in the military. His name was Brian, and Brian said, look, I went through military training, and I'll tell you the single most horrible experience we went through was the time that we had to go through their gas mask training, basically, how to use their gas mask. And what they did is they put them in a room, this tiny little room, ton of them, all in a room, pop one of those tear gas canisters, throw it in the room, close the door, and then go, okay, take your gas mask off. And if you don't do it, you get in some big trouble. So everybody takes it off, and you've probably seen those videos where the guys are coughing and just spitting and that whole bit. And he goes, that is totally true. That's exactly what happens. And then they tell you, all right, put it back on, regulate yourself. And that's basically what they tell you to do. Like, calm down. It's not permanent. You're fine. You're just going to be, puking out of every orifice in your face. And it gets in your lungs and that sort of stuff. And he says, Eric, that was the most crappy thing I've ever done while in the military. I said, okay. So this is kind of bringing up for me, like, oh yeah, I remember that conversation with Brian, and I'm talking about that. I'm like, I never want to experience that because that sounds horrendous. But at the same time, like, what's that all about? Like, hey, what the heck? So I'm looking at it, I'm kind of manipulating it. I'm like, I wonder how this thing works, because usually the little top spray dealy, and I'm like trying to push it to the side. That doesn't work. And then I'm like, well, okay, now get my fingernail in there, and there's some stuff left in there. Even though it feels really light, it feels empty, I can't hear anything rattling around. And so what I do is, I take it over to the trash can, a big 55-gallon plastic one, where I basically just dump all the contents of the car in there, except for like small change and that sort of thing. We had a big bucket full of, small change that people would leave in cars, 50 cents at a time. And it was getting pretty impressive. Big Folgers can. It's getting pretty impressive. And so I got this little canister, and I've got it, and I'm pushing it away from myself because I know I'm smart enough. Smart enough to know to push it away from me so I don't mace myself, because that's just stupid, right? That who would ever do that? So then I am manipulating a little bit, pointing it down into the trash can, and I decide, I'm going to manipulate this a little bit more. And not knowing how far of a press you needed, I kind of went full bore and just went like this. It went straight into the garbage, hit some flat thing at such velocity that it went down, 3-4 feet, came back 3-4 feet, hit me right smack dab in the middle of the face, and instantly, every orifice in my face hated me. My eyes started watering. I was crying. My eyes were just bloodshot. I had contacts in at the time. My nose was running. My mouth was salivating. My lungs felt like they were burning. And I'll never forget the taste, because you can taste this stuff. And it was an orange, like a bright orange, like a hot sauce. So it's like a hot sauce if somebody just loaded it with black pepper. And there were big black chunks of something, which I don't know what it is. I assumed it was black pepper, but that's what it tasted like. It was like hot salsa with a ton of black pepper in it. And my body instantly hated this. This was brutal. Okay. I'm watering, I'm crying, and I remember Brian's like, oh, calm down. It's not permanent. It'll be fine. Get away from it if you can, and make sure that you just breathe normally, and it'll eventually go away. So I'm sitting there and nobody's around. My buddy, the guy left earlier. There's nobody in the shop. It was a pretty slow day. Must have been a Saturday or something. And I'm panicking, coughing, just retching, that kind of that sort of thing, trying to breathe because it gets in your lungs and really fills up with fluid. And it makes it really hard to see anything. And at the time, we had one of those eye wash stations, and stupidly, I didn't think about it at the time, and I had contacts, and I'm like, whatever. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna breathe through this. I'm gonna breathe. And just, you can't see, your eyes are watering, and it's all involuntary. Your nose is running like crazy. Your mouth, you can't swallow your saliva fast enough. I mean, it's just an attack on the senses. And I remember thinking at the time, okay, panic, calm down, it's gonna happen. And at this point, one of the other guys walks up, and he sees me, eyes are watering, and it's can you imagine walking into a shop and there's this guy who's just, crying from everything, coughing and spitting and just all sorts, everything. And he's like, are you okay? I'm fine. I'll tell you in a minute what happened. I just need to breathe through the, and I'm hyperventilating a little bit. And eventually, it takes about half an hour for this to go away. And my eyes are bloodshot. I think I've got some of this orange junk in my face. So I'm like blotting it with the blue towel. And you can see it's just neon orange, coming out of my nose and my, and it sticks, it's kind of sticky. And it kind of it was in my eyeball and in my nose. And I was spitting it up, and it was just gross. So, but I calmed down, and about 30 minutes later, my eyes were just completely bloodshot. Everybody at the dealership thought I was on drugs at the time, because that's the only explanation. Now, I did say that I'm the first person to tell on myself when I do something incredibly stupid, because not only it's going to be a good story, right? I just think it's going to be a damn good story. So what the hell? Let's have a lot of fun. And if you make fun of me, all I ask is, hey, just include me in the joke. That's all I ask. I don't think that's too much to ask. So I'm the first one to tell, and I went, okay, guys, here's what happened. And everybody had a very good laugh at yours truly, and by the end of it, just the guy who maced himself, they were giving me a hard time about, they would hand me the keys and like, oh, we can't give Eric the keys to that one. He might kill himself, that sort of thing. So it was they had a good a good laugh at my expense. But anyway, let me know what you think. Have you ever done anything stupid? I don't know. Let me know. That's one of the more dumb things that I've done, and I've done plenty of dumb things, trust me. Thankfully, that time, nobody got hurt. Just my pride and a little bit of runny eyes. So anyway, thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good one.